There is something very simple, yet very powerful, that most people overlook. They search for big changes. They wait for the perfect moment. They think transformation must be loud, dramatic, and fast. Most people believe that change happens in a moment. They imagine a sudden breakthrough, a powerful decision, or a burst of motivation that transforms everything overnight. But this belief often leads to frustration because when that moment fades, they find themselves back where they started. What is often misunderstood is that real change does not arrive all at once. It builds slowly, quietly, through consistent effort that may not even be visible at first. When you repeat a small action every day, something begins to shift beneath the surface. It may feel insignificant in the beginning, almost too small to matter. You might question whether it is even worth the effort. But consistency has a compounding effect. Just like a drop of water falling on stone, it does not create change instantly, but over time, it reshapes even the hardest surface. In the same way, your daily actions are shaping you, whether you notice it or not. The challenge is that the mind is drawn to immediate results. It wants proof, progress, something it can see and measure quickly. When that does not happen, it becomes restless and seeks something new. This is why many people start strong but do not continue. They confuse lack of immediate results with lack of progress. But progress is happening even when it is invisible. Each time you choose a better action, you are reinforcing a new pattern. Each time you stay consistent, you are strengthening a new identity. You are not just doing something differently, you are becoming someone different. This process cannot be rushed because it is not about a single outcome. It is about transformation at a deeper level. Over time, these small, repeated actions begin to align. What once felt difficult becomes natural. What once required effort becomes part of who you are. And without realizing it, you begin to move differently, think differently, and respond differently. The results that once seemed distant start to appear not because of one big moment, but because of many small moments that you honor daily. Showing up every day sounds simple, but it is one of the most difficult things to practice. Not because the action itself is hard, but because your feelings are constantly changing. Some days you feel energized, focused, and ready. On those days, taking action feels natural, but other days feel heavy. Your mind resists, your body feels tired, and everything inside you looks for an excuse to delay or avoid what needs to be done. This is where most people stop. They believe they need motivation to begin. They wait until they feel ready, until the mood is right, until the moment feels perfect, but that moment is unreliable. If you depend on how you feel, your actions will always be inconsistent, and inconsistent actions can never create a stable result. When you decide to show up every day, you are choosing something deeper than motivation. You are choosing discipline. Discipline is not loud or emotional. It is quiet and steady. It does not ask how you feel. It simply asks if you will do what you said you would do. There is a certain power in acting despite resistance. When you take action on a day you don't feel like it, you send a message to yourself. You begin to understand that your feelings do not control you. You create a separation between what you feel and what you choose to do. This is where inner strength begins to grow. It does not mean you always perform at your best. Some days your effort will be small. Some days you will only take one step forward. But even that step matters. Because showing up is not about perfection. It is about continuity. It is about not breaking the rhythm you are building within yourself. Over time, this practice changes your relationship with effort. You stop negotiating with your mind. You stop waiting for the perfect feeling. Instead, you become someone who acts with intention, regardless of the inner noise. And in that space, you begin to discover a quiet confidence, a trust in yourself that does not depend on circumstances or emotions. Growth does not begin with action. It begins with awareness. Without awareness, you may be active, busy, even productive, but you are still moving in patterns you do not fully understand. You repeat reactions, habits, and decisions without questioning where they come from. This is how people remain stuck, not because they lack effort, but because they lack clarity. To become aware is to observe yourself honestly, to notice how you think, how you respond, how you spend your time and energy. Not with judgment, but with attention. When you begin to watch your own patterns, you start to see what was once invisible. You notice the moments where you react instead of respond. You see the habits that pull you away from what truly matters. You recognize the thoughts that limit you before you even try. At first, this can feel uncomfortable. Awareness removes the illusion that everything is fine. It brings you face to face with your own inconsistencies. But this discomfort is necessary because it creates the space for change. You cannot shift what you refuse to see. As your awareness deepens, you begin to pause more often. Instead of acting automatically, you create a small gap between impulse and action. In that gap, there is choice. You are no longer driven entirely by past conditioning. You can decide, even in a small way, to respond differently. This shift may seem subtle, but it changes everything. A single conscious choice can interrupt a pattern that has been repeated for years. And when that choice is repeated, it begins to form a new direction. Awareness also brings responsibility. You start to understand that your life is shaped not only by external circumstances, but by your internal patterns. The way you think, the habits you maintain, the attention you give, all of these influence your experience. And once you see this clearly, you can no longer return to unconscious living in the same way. Over time, awareness becomes a steady presence. You begin to understand yourself more deeply, not just in moments of reflection, but in the middle of daily life. And through this understanding, your actions become more aligned, more intentional, and more true to who you are becoming. It is easy to overlook small actions. They seem too simple, too ordinary to carry any real weight. You might believe that only big decisions or major efforts can truly change your life. But what often goes unnoticed is that your life is not shaped by what you do once in a while. It is shaped by what you do repeatedly without thinking. Every small action you take sends a signal. It reinforces a direction. When you repeat that action daily, it begins to form a pattern. And over time, that pattern becomes a habit. These habits operate quietly in the background, guiding your behavior without requiring constant effort. This is why small actions matter so much. They do not stay small, they grow. A single choice may not seem significant. Waking up a little earlier, choosing to focus instead of scrolling, taking a few minutes to reflect instead of reacting. These moments pass quickly, and they may not bring immediate results. But when repeated, they begin to build something much stronger than motivation. They build structure. This structure supports you even on difficult days. When your energy is low or your mind is distracted, your habits carry you forward. You no longer rely entirely on willpower because your actions have become part of your routine. What once required effort now happens with less resistance. There is also a deeper transformation taking place. Each small action is shaping your identity. When you act with intention, even in the smallest way, you begin to see yourself differently. You are no longer someone who only plans or hopes. You become someone who follows through, and this shift in identity changes how you approach everything else in your life. Over time, these small habits begin to connect. They influence your mindset, your energy, and your decisions. The results may appear gradual, but they are lasting. What you build slowly has a stronger foundation. And without needing a dramatic moment or sudden change, your life begins to move in a new direction, guided by the quiet power of what you choose to do each day. There is a quiet tendency within the mind to delay. It tells you that there will be a better moment, a more suitable time, a future version of yourself who will be more ready, more prepared, more disciplined. And so you wait. You tell yourself you will begin tomorrow or next week or when circumstances feel right. But this waiting becomes a pattern, and without realizing it, you begin to postpone your own growth. The idea of starting later creates an illusion of comfort. It removes the pressure of action and replaces it with intention. You feel as though you are still moving forward because you have decided to change, even if you have not yet taken the first step. But intention without action does not create movement. It only creates distance between where you are and where you want to be. When you choose to start now, something shifts immediately. Not because everything becomes clear or easy, but because you break the cycle of delay. You move from thinking into doing, Even the smallest action creates momentum. It may feel insignificant, almost too simple to matter, but it carries a different energy. It is real, it is present, and it begins to shape your direction. Starting now also removes the need for perfection. You are no longer waiting for the ideal conditions. You begin with what you have, where you are. This allows you to learn through action rather than preparation. You discover what works and what does not through planning alone, but through experience. There is also a deeper truth in beginning today. The present moment is the only place where change is possible. The past is already formed, and the future is still uncertain. But right now, you have the ability to choose differently. You can take a step that aligns with the life you want to create. Each time you act in the present, you strengthen your ability to do so again. You build trust in yourself. You begin to see that progress is not something that happens later. It is something that is created in the decisions you make today, in the actions you take without delay, in the commitment to move forward without waiting for a perfect moment. And in the end, it was never about doing something extraordinary. It was about the quiet choices you made when no one was watching, the moments you decided to continue when it would have been easier to stop, the days you showed up, even when you felt nothing at all. This is where your life begins to change, not in a single breakthrough, in the steady rhythm of your daily actions. So do not look for a dramatic turning point. Do not wait for a sign. Become the person who moves, even in silence, who grows, even without recognition, who continues, without needing immediate results. Because if you stay consistent, if you remain aware, if you choose discipline over delay, then slowly, quietly, without force, you will see the difference. And one day, without even realizing when it happened, you will no longer recognize the person you used to be.